Okay, let's talk about a feeling. A feeling that you're just going through the motions. You know, that no matter what you do or what you achieve, there's this nagging sense that something really fundamental is missing from life today.
It's that kind of background hum of disconnection, right? A quiet feeling of just being adrift. It's something so many of us feel. And so we go looking. We search for something more, for some deeper sense of purpose that just always seems to be right around the corner, but never quite here.
Well, what if I told you that this isn't your fault? That it's not some personal failure? Cognitive scientist John Vervaeke says this is a shared cultural condition, and he gives it a name, the meaning crisis. And he argues that just understanding it is the very first step toward a real awakening.
So what does this crisis of meaning actually look like in the real world? Well, it shows up in this really strange paradox that's happening all around us. So on one hand, we are absolutely facing a serious mental health crisis. Suicide rates are going up, loneliness is an epidemic, depression is widespread. But, and this is the paradox, at the exact same time, there is this incredible hunger for wisdom. Mindfulness is booming. People are rediscovering ancient philosophies like Stoicism, and we're seeing serious scientific interest in psychedelics. So, what gives? How can both of these things be happening at once?
Well, this is where Vervaeke's idea really clicks into place. He says these aren't separate things at all. They're two sides of the very same coin, the meaning crisis. It's this feeling that the very frameworks, the religious, social, philosophical systems that used to anchor us and give us a shared map of what matters, have basically crumbled, leaving us totally adrift.
But here's the thing. This crisis isn't just about old systems falling apart out there in the world. To really get to the root of it, we have to look inward. We have to look at the deceptive nature of our own minds.
And this is just a fascinating paradox, isn't it? Our greatest strength, our incredible, complex, problem-solving brain is also our biggest weakness. The same cognitive machinery that lets us build cities and plan for the future also makes us absolute experts at self-deception and self-sabotage.
And this is not some new modern problem. Way back, over 2,000 years ago, Plato gave us this amazing metaphor for our inner conflict. He pictured our mind, our psyche, as a charioteer. That's the man, our reason, and he's desperately trying to control two powerful horses. One is a wild monster, representing all our raw appetites. The other is a noble lion, representing our social need for honor and status.
Now, here is the absolute core of our internal problem. That monster, our desires, is fast. It makes things feel incredibly important and urgent right now. You know that urge for one more slice of cake or just one more hour of doom scrolling? That's the monster. Our reason, the man, is much slower. By the time it actually figures out if something is good for us in the long run, the monster's already grabbed the reins. That gap between impulse and reason, that's where self-deception lives. It's why we so often do things we know aren't good for us.
For a long, long time, these big, grand systems, like religion and shared cultural stories, they acted like a kind of harness for society, helping to keep all of our collective monsters in check. But then, a huge historical shift happened that put a crack in the very foundation of how we see reality.
For most of Western history, the worldview was basically Aristotelian, and the core idea was one of conformity, that to know the world was to actually participate in it. Your mind would literally take on the form of the thing you were looking at. It meant there was this deep, intimate, direct connection between you and reality. But then the scientific revolution, with thinkers like Descartes, came along and just shattered that view. The new idea was that the real world wasn't what we experienced at all. It was a cold, mathematical machine. And our subjective experience, color, beauty, love, purpose, that wasn't a window into reality anymore. It was seen as a veil, a subjective illusion that was separating us from the actual truth. All of a sudden, our own minds became a kind of prison.
And that is how the ground beneath our feet just crumbled. That essential intimate link between our inner meaningful world and the outer world was severed. Science gave us a universe of matter in motion, but one that was fundamentally meaningless. And it left us feeling profoundly alone and adrift. This historical shift was like pouring gasoline on the fire of the meaning crisis.
Okay, so things sound a little bleak, right? Our minds are deceptive, our connection to the world feels broken. So how do we ever find our footing again? Well, Vervaeke says the answer isn't in finding new things to believe in, but in retraining the most fundamental process of our intelligence.
Just think about what your brain is doing this very second. You're ignoring the feeling of your chair, the hum of the lights, a million other little details, so you can focus on this explainer. That unconscious, lightning-fast process of sorting what matters from what doesn't, that's a process called relevance realization. It is the very core of what makes you intelligent.
There's this classic puzzle that shows relevance realization perfectly. You take a chessboard and you remove two opposite corners. Now, can you cover the 62 squares that are left with 31 dominoes? If you try to map out every single possible combination, you'll literally be there forever. It's a combinatorial explosion. But the second you have that insight, the moment you realize the relevant information is that you've removed two squares of the same color and every domino must cover one black and one white square, you instantly see the answer. It's impossible.
And that brings us to a really powerful insight, our collective struggle for meaning. It's just like that chessboard problem. We are drowning in information, in possibilities, trying every combination to find happiness, but it's not working. The meaning crisis at its core is a breakdown in our ability to realize what is genuinely relevant for a good and flourishing life. So, if our ability to see what's truly relevant is broken, how on earth do we fix it? Well, this final section is all about an empowering path forward, a way to start waking up from this crisis.
If the problem is a kind of glitch in our cognitive machinery, then the solution is to retrain that machinery. Vervaeke points to a whole set of ancient practices he calls psychotechnologies. Now, these aren't just for relaxing. They are systematic ways to train our capacity for relevance realization. Think about it. Mindfulness meditation trains you to notice what your attention is doing without judgment, helping you see past the monster's immediate demands. Socratic dialogue forces you to question your own assumptions, revealing what's really relevant in an argument.
By engaging in practices like these over and over, we learn to break out of our old mental ruts. We challenge those self-deceptive patterns. We cultivate the same kind of aha moment that solves the chessboard problem, but we start applying it to our own lives. We begin to actually see and feel and know what is truly relevant, building a deeper connection to ourselves, to others, and to the world again. So at the end of the day, awakening from the meaning crisis isn't about finding some new belief system to just sign up for. It's about recovering a skill, the skill of seeing what truly matters. This entire framework gives us the tools to start doing just that. So the final question isn't just an abstract idea, it's a call to practice. In a world of infinite distraction, what will you choose to make relevant?